All right, guys, it's Friday. It's the end of the semester. My name's Wendy Argenbright, and this is our EdTech tip of the week. We are going to go over finalizing Infinite Campus, getting ready for next semester, making sure we're all ready to go. So you made it. At this point, you're done with semester exams, missing assignments have been turned in, you're ready for your much-deserved 2-week break. Now, if you're the kind of teacher who needs to turn everything off and go home and take 2 weeks off, then pause this video and open it back up again on Records Day. However, if you're the kind of teacher who needs to get everything wrapped up, finished before you can go and relax for the next 2 weeks, then let's go ahead and get this done. So this has been a very challenging year. We all know it. You guys are doing great. We're going to get through it. But we want to make sure that the grades that we're putting on these kids' transcripts are accurate. And there's been so many transfers, so much movement between in-person and online. We just want to take that extra step and make sure that what we're posting for the students is accurate. So normally what we would do is we would make sure that all of the grades that are posted are correct. We'd hit the red post button. We'd save all of our posted grades and we'd be good. We're going to take a couple of extra steps to make sure that the grades that we're posting are accurate. The first thing we want to make sure of is if you come over here to your user menu, go to your account settings. Most of us have active students only checked so that we don't see any students that have dropped our course or who are transferring in for next semester. So what we're going to make sure is we're going to uncheck that box for a second. We're going to look at our gradebook and make sure that when we get ready to post grades, you see these students who are listed in red on the left. Those are students who are no longer enrolled currently in the class. And some of these students don't have any grades. So when we post, nothing is going to transfer over. However, some of the students were in our classroom long enough to actually earn some points. So if we just did a blind post, this student would have a grade in the final semester grade. Now, everybody's registrar has already sent out instructions on which students need posted grades and which ones don't. And that's going to depend on how long they were in your class, whether or not they've transferred out within the 10 days from the end of the semester, whether you've received specific instructions to freeze a student's grade or they've transferred out of district. So make sure that you read those instructions and follow them very closely. And when you go to post a grade, if there is a grade for a student that was not in your class for the recommended amount of time or on the specific days, then you can go ahead and delete those from the posted before you save them. So just go through and make sure that you're only posting grades for those students who earn grades or earn credit in your course. Make sure that you're checking the attendance records, and you can find that by going into the attendance for each individual student if you have a concern. You know who your chronic attendance students are, so you shouldn't have to go through each and every one of them. It's a good idea to keep track of that throughout the semester so that you're not having to pull everything up at the end of the year. Another thing that we want to make sure of is we've had a lot of issues with Canvas syncing grades to Infinite Campus. So we're just going to go through and make sure that what is listed here is accurate. So a couple of things to notice. Check your failing students. Make sure that if you have a student that's failing in IC, that they're really failing the class. We don't want to fail a student simply because we have an error with grade sync or grade weights. So if you have a student that's failing with a 57, 58, 59, take that second to make sure that those grades are really accurate. One of the things that you can look at is if a field in Infinite Campus is red, it's not going to count that as a grade. It's going to count it as a 0. Whether it's missing or absent, it's not going to count that as a grade. So make sure that you don't have a student that has a numerical grade entered with a red box or a line through it. That's going to mean that Canvas has identified that assignment as missing a submission, and it's counting it as a 0 even if there's a numerical grade. It's super easy to just scan your gradebook real quick and make sure that you don't have any numbers that are red with lines through them. If that's the case, contact your EdTech specialist and they can show you how to clean that up. You can simply open up, expand the grade, and you can uncheck the missing box and it will recalculate that grade into IC. Next thing you want to do is make sure that you don't have any uncategorized assignments from Canvas that are kind of waiting in limbo to transfer over into IC. So if you're doing your semester test on Canvas or final projects, just make sure that you transfer those over before you post final grades. Another thing that you're going to want to make sure of is that your last grade sync from Canvas completed with no issues. So you're going to open up your Canvas page. You're going to go to the Grade Sync tab. If you don't see that, you can enable it in Settings and Navigation in your Canvas course. So you can see this grade was last synced on December 15th, and it was completed with no errors. So I can trust that the data that was in Canvas that was set to sync to IC did. Now, if you see a red exclamation point here, that doesn't necessarily mean that the grades didn't transfer. It simply means that you may have some errors. Some of the errors are quite innocuous and won't cause any discrepancies to your grades, but some can be catastrophic. So if you see that, you can click on the red exclamation point and look at the actual logs. It's pretty easy to see if you have some very simple grades. It could be that one of your assignments didn't have a due date on it and didn't transfer over. Sometimes if a student's transfer in late or mid-semester, it will show up as an error. If you have any questions about any of the errors, again, please contact your EdTech specialist and they'll be able to help you figure that one out. If you have a failed status, generally means that your transfer to IC timed out. You'll be able to you'll see like time started 1 a.m. and time updated 8 a.m. So anything longer than an hour is probably going to fail. That generally happens if you have an assignment or a quiz that doesn't have a due date. Infinite Campus doesn't know which semester to put it in, so everybody just kind of sits around waiting for the information that never comes from Canvas. So if that's the case, go through your assignments, go through your quizzes, make sure that everything that is syncing has a due date on it. And if it's not something that you want to sync, you can uncheck that sync box from the Assignments tab and then rerun your grade sync. So if you've gone through Infinite Campus and you've made sure that all of your grades that are zeros are supposed to be zeros, you've made sure that all of your Fs are supposed to be Fs, and you've made sure that you're not posting any grades for a student that's no longer in your class, then you're ready to go. So you're going to click on the red post button, make sure everything's accurate, and then hit save. You'll have to do that for each of your sections. That means you're done with Infinite Campus. You're ready to relax. So the next step we're going to do is getting ready for next semester. Okay, so we finalized semester 1. We are ready to start on semester 2. So we're going to make sure that we've gone back into our user details and made sure that show active students is checked again. We're going to make sure that we transition to term 2 up at the top of our Infinite Campus Gradebook. And we're going to make sure that we go through our Gradebook settings the same way we did at the beginning of the year with our first term courses. We're going to make sure that our categories are set up correctly, our grade calculation options are set up correctly. For using section groups, make sure that you've created section groups for all of your semester 2 courses as well. And for some of you new teachers, and even some of you veteran teachers, I'd like you to take an opportunity at the beginning of the semester to explore a few options in Infinite Campus that maybe you haven't used that often. So for instance, section groups is an easy way to take multiple sections of a similar course and group them together in one gradebook. So for instance, if you have 4 different Algebra 1 sections, and in Canvas, you can have everything put into one gradebook. You can do the same thing in IC. You can combine all 4 sections into a single gradebook so that you don't have to keep flipping back and forth to see how your students are doing. If you have special education students, section groups are a great way to combine different classes. So you may have biology for several different hours, but you're teaching the same content to the same students. And each one only has 1 or 2 students in each section. You can combine those in section groups. Another thing that's really good is the curriculum list category. So you can see the assignments that have transferred over from Canvas in your curriculum list, and make sure that everything is set up the way you want it in the correct category. And any changes that you need to make, you can make in that curriculum list category. You can also come up here to sort, and you can actually organize your gradebook in a way that makes sense for you. It's set up to sort by due date and ascending. So basically that means first day of school is always going to be on the left. And as you add assignments, you're going to have to scroll to the right towards the end of the semester to see new assignments. If you change this to descending, it's going to mean that the most current assignments are always on the left of your Infinite Campus gradebook. It's a lot easier to see and keep track of current content. You can always also sort by category or by sequence. When you create the assignments, you can create a sequence that overrides sorting by due date or sorting by assignment name. You can also come over here to the filter, and the filter is really powerful as you're going through the year and you want to check on certain things. So you can pull up specific student filters, only your failing students, only your passing students. You can sort by flags. So there's a lot of different things that you can do in here that maybe you haven't utilized in the past. So take a second and just kind of explore some of the options that are within IC that maybe at the beginning of the year you just didn't even have time to go over and learn something new. Next, we are going to go into Canvas, and we're going to look at how to conclude our semester 1 courses and get set up for semester 2. Some of you with 2 semester courses did have to have EdTech deactivate some of the students. So if you have a student that was transitioning into your class second semester, some of the grade or some of the enrollment statuses transferred over into Canvas before the student actually moved over. So we have gone in and deactivated those students. So it's going to be important for you to come to the people list and see if there's anybody that we need to reactivate for the second semester. So to conclude this course, once you have finished a first semester Canvas course, that course is set up by term, so it's going to stay open until the end of May. And you may not want students to have access to this material. So what you would do at this point is you would change from a term course to the course settings. And that now allows you to put in your own end date. So you can set this date for December 18th, or you can keep it open until after Records Day in case you have a student that was absent the last couple of days that needs to turn in some assignments. Now, this does not mean that the course disappears. The students will not have access to it, so it restricts the students from viewing after the end date, but it cannot be unpublished. Once students have interacted with a published course, you cannot unpublish it, but you can conclude the course. You as the teacher will still have access to everything in the course. The content, the grades, the materials, everything. It will be in the concluded course section of your course list, but you will still have access to it even next year. It just prevents your kids from having multiple courses on their dashboard for each semester, and also prevents them from getting in and pulling up information that they don't need to have access to anymore. Now, we're going to go back to your dashboard, and we are going to open up the second semester. Now, you'll notice here that the second semester is not yet published. You want to make sure that all of your sections have been cross-listed correctly. So go into your sections and make sure that all of your sections are there. Make sure in your course details that you have everything set up the way that you want it. It's automatically going to be open. You don't have to worry about changing any of this. You can go ahead and publish your course. Now, I highly recommend that you do not combine semester 1 and semester 2 courses. Creates problems with transferring grades to IC. Makes your Canvas course way too large. Even if you teach a 1-year course, I would highly recommend creating a semester 1 and a semester 2 Canvas. The larger your Canvas course is, the harder it is going to be to function. It's going to slow down. You also are going to want to make sure as you go through the year, once you end a unit, if you are not accepting grades on that unit anymore, because you've moved on to the next part of the lesson, you can go ahead and stop or disable sync for those specific assignments. So you'd go into the assignments tab in Canvas and you would simply untoggle that switch. So that's going to make things in Canvas a lot easier. You're also going to want to make sure, as I said, and open up your people section and compare this to your Infinite Campus roster. To make this super easy to do, you're going to change the role to student. You want to make sure that you're eliminating all the observers, the parent observers, and you can go through and you can look at them by section, and you can make sure that everybody who's in here is supposed to be in here. If we have deactivated a student, you'll want to ask EdTech to reactivate that student into the course. You can also add people yourself by clicking on the plus people box and putting in their email address. Make sure that you have them in the correct section. You should be ready for semester 2. So I hope that this semester wasn't too tough. I hope that you got the support that you needed. If you didn't, I really hope that you reach out to an EdTech specialist and let us know what hasn't been working. We know some of the issues, we know some of the main issues, we know some of the small issues, but we may not know your issue. So I beg you, if there is something that is making your job difficult, if there's something that is causing you undue stress, you may not know what the solution is, but someone at EdTech might be able to come up with a solution for you. So please reach out to your site tech, your EdTech, someone at ASC. Let us know what you need because that's what we're here for. We want to make your job easy. We want to make your job as stress-free as it possibly can. We know that you have stresses from all other aspects of your life. This doesn't need to be one of them. So thank you for everything that you've done this semester. Thank you for everything that you've done for your students and our children. And have a Merry Christmas.